The Babadook, 2014 horror film directed by Jennifer Kent, starring Essie Davis and Noah Wiseman. It tells the story of Amelia, who raises her 6-year-old son Samuel alone after his father died in a tragic car crash while driving Amelia to the hospital to actually deliver the baby. The woman now works at a facility for the elderly, and she is very clearly unhappy in her life. Obviously, because of the tragedy, but also because of the dead end job and how exhausting for her it is to keep the job and raise her son. Especially as Samuel is a rather disobedient child, seems to never listen to the mom, doesn't play well with others, he has trouble at school with other kids, and he also tends to believe in monsters, and so he continues to make all sorts of homemade weapons to fight them. A crossbow, a sort of catapult backpack, that sort of stuff. His behavior is visibly driving the mother crazy, and she doesn't really have a way of coping with this strain, coupled with her grief that she still cannot process even after all those years after the tragedy. So one day, the both of them find an odd book on the bookshelf at the house called Mr. Babadook. It looks like a pop-up book for children, which starts innocently describing a sort of imaginary friend, but quickly turns very creepy and graphic as it reveals that the Babadook is actually a monster or a demon of sorts. Amelia throws away the book, but it then turns up at the house again, and this is where the trouble starts. So, after that setup, you may think this is a pretty standard horror film, right? The demon will start haunting the house, maybe possess someone, and it's just going to get crazier and crazier from there. And that's true on the surface level. There is indeed a certain element of the classic haunted house trope here, but I do want to say that it is done amazingly well. First of all, there are practically no jump scares in the entire film. It scares you with atmosphere and careful camera placement and creepy dream sequences, and the use of sound as well. But there really isn't that element of something jumping out to the sound of loud music, and that's great. And that said, the movie has moments that are absolutely terrifying. It doesn't have to resort to those cheap tricks to really scare you, to put the fear of God into you. It is certainly really effective in the horror department. However, I said that it is a horror on the surface level, but the truth is, it is more of a character study and family drama disguised as a horror, using horror's elements as a tool to tell a story, to dress it up in an allegory. Because okay, mild spoilers. What the film is really about is coping with grief and moving on and being able to process your tragedy, your emotions. The monster really represents all the internal turmoil that Amelia is living through. That can be inferred pretty much from the beginning, but gets more and more clear as the film progresses. It is said of the monster that it's getting stronger the more you ignore it. And that happens on both levels. First, the mother ignores Samuel's laments about the Babadook even existing. But at the same time, Amelia doesn't want to talk to anyone about her husband's death. She actively avoids the subject, and she keeps the husband's belongings intact in the basement. She doesn't let Samuel play with them. She's very clearly ignoring the problem, and that problem grows. Her resentment towards Samuel grows. Her blame for him living while the husband has died. Her blame for the child being loud and unruly and difficult to work with. So that's the real monster of the film, the repressed feelings and issues that Amelia doesn't want to acknowledge or process. And I have to say, the film does a terrific job of balancing those two aspects of the story, the surface level horror about a monster, about an actual physical monster, and the psychological horror about one's troubled mind. The highlight of the film, for me, is the performance of Essie Davis as Amelia. She shows incredible range and is completely believable in each and every scene. Her mind unraveling is visceral and real. It made me think of Toni Collette in Hereditary, another terrific performance in a mother role in a horror film. Just brilliant stuff. Essie really carries the film on her back. I loved The Babadook, and I was massively surprised to find that many people, many of my friends, score it online at 5 out of 10, 4 out of 10 even. It's completely baffling to me because I couldn't find anything in the film that doesn't work. It's a movie with clear purpose and message, and it delivers that message in an excellent way. It's all the more impressive if you think about it, as I've explained it, as essentially two movies or two layers of a movie packaged into one, where both parts are great on their own, but together they make something truly special.